you're probably never gonna get the perfect balance between work, fitness, family and social life. And that's okay because that's quite normal. And I think not enough people talk about that because, as an example, if you feel that you're getting into a good routine and something comes up that maybe changes that a little bit, I think some people kind of feel like they've failed immediately the moment they can't hit that standard that they've set. And I kind of get it. Like, as someone who used to find that a lot of their own self-worth is maybe tied up in training, I do kind of understand that. But also at the same time, you kind of need to allow a little bit of wiggle room. Like, for example, you're never going to just say no to your mates full stop. Even though you want to sort of lock in and train a little bit more, you're never going to completely pie off your mates all the time. And vice versa, you know, you might want to focus on your job a little bit more on some occasions, and maybe that means that there's a bit less training time. Or maybe you have a kid, or you know, you want to support a family member that's going through something. You cannot train as much as you want. These are all pretty normal reasons to not be able to hit 3-4 training sessions a week. But it does mean that maybe you shift the balance in a slightly different direction. It doesn't mean that you don't train full stop or not think about nutrition full stop. It just means you still keep an eye on it and still do something for it, but just in a different way. Like, for example, with me, anyone who's self-employed can relate to this. I do find there are periods where I really do need to just focus on my work a little bit more. And for that reason, it means I just can't train as much. And yes, of course, some of my work is in a gym, but it doesn't necessarily mean that I've got the time or the headspace to focus on it. So for example, last week, I definitely focused quite a little bit more on a lot of things to do with work, a lot of things to do with content writing, and also just a lot of things in terms of just like picking up clients. So for that reason, I didn't train as much as I normally do. And it is difficult in the beginning, taking that little step back, especially when you feel like you're getting in a really good routine, you're getting stronger. But it doesn't mean that I had to stop training altogether. Like, it meant that maybe I did 2 sessions in the gym rather than 3 or 4, and that's all right, because I'm not going to regress that way. I'm still going to maintain my progress. And I think that's where a lot of people go wrong. They kind of focus on one over the other. Like, there's loads of times where you will probably miss a session. A meeting will come up last minute at work, or your friends might, especially when the weather's a bit better, might want to go out for a drink in a beer garden, and you'll probably maybe not get that session in, or maybe less of the session. But then a lot of times people guilt trip themselves and kind of say, oh, I've fallen off the wagon. And you're like, well, you haven't. You just had a takeaway, or you trained one less session less. So I think the best thing I could say is, like, if you imagine your training being in phases, where some phases you might be able to train a lot more, great, focus on it then, really hammer out the sessions. But other phases where you've got maybe a busy quarter at work coming up, or you've got a big life event, or maybe you're just going to be on holiday, maybe just focus on what you can do train wise, focus on getting a bare minimum each week. And that might be less than you're currently doing, but that's always going to be better than not doing anything at all. So I think that's one of the things where a lot of people go wrong. They just maybe feel like they have to prioritize everything else but themselves, or either themselves or nothing else. But you kind of have to have a balance, and by balance, that means maybe some of that balance is more shifted towards your job, your family, or your friends, but you still do a little bit of stuff for yourself. And other days where you've got a bit more time and you want to really focus on yourself a bit more, yeah, show up for yourself more, focus a little bit more on your training. But don't just do nothing or everything. Have a little in between and see how you go from there. And the best way you can do that is figure out each week, if it was the week from hell, what could your minimum be, your non-negotiables, and just focus on your baseline. During the weeks where it's easier, you can do a lot more, great. During the weeks, like the week I had last week, where you maybe do need to take more time to focus on your business, and maybe also spend a bit of time with your friends, then yeah, train a bit less, but still have your baseline. And that way, you're always going to be doing something for yourself, rather than feeling like you're constantly in or out of it. Have a little try that and let me know how that goes.